Here's a blitz. Wilson on that ankle runs away, throws, diving. Did he make the catch? Oh my goodness, he did. Elliott into the end zone.
And then you go jump and promote a very good cause.
Which looks like they're going to go deep. Dalton to the end zone, down the field, and it is deflected and caught. Touchdown, A.J. Green. Prayer answered for the Bengals.
Oh, welcome back, guys. This is the Championship Fantasy Football League podcast. I'm back. I'm in my new home. It's good to have a place to call my own. I didn't mean to make that rhyme, but hey, whatever. So today we are going to be talking about what I said we were going to be talking about, and that is just what are we playing this year? What are you paying to be a part of, and how are we going to play out this all out? So we'll be going over the entry fee, the pools, the league format, scoring, playoffs, hardware, and what's coming up this week. I mean, this week football's back. We have preseason football this Thursday, but more on that later. All right, so moving along here. Entry fee. So almost everybody at this point has their $100 entry fee in. And so what does that $100 entry fee get you besides playing in one of the most competitive, most fun, most engaging fantasy leagues you could possibly be a part of, at least in my humble opinion? Well, that $100, if you manage to win first place, you're going to get $620 in cash, and then $180 in addition to that, that's going to go towards a custom championship ring. As you can see, I got 3 of these bad boys here. These aren't custom. I'm working on that. Matthew has a custom ring. They look absolutely legit, so they're pretty sweet. Second place, we'll get your money back, $100. Third place, you get half your money back, $50. But you'll see you'll have many other ways to get your money back as well. So the survival pool winner, I'll go over more of the pools and how they work here in a minute. But survival pool winner is going to win $40. Pick'em pool winner is $50. There's a little more involved with the pick'em, so it's worth a little bit more. The Pro Bowl winners, so week 17, we're going to have a Pro Bowl where each conference comes together and votes on what they think the best fantasy team can be from players from their own conference that week, and the winning side, each owner gets $10. So it's just a little added incentive there, and it'd be a shame to waste a week of football. Don't really want to play the championships on week 17, just because a lot of the best players are sitting and whatnot. And then $100 goes towards league costs and improvements. Now, there's various different costs, like the draft software we use, the website we use, they all have a cost. And then improvements, as you can see, there was a lot of things this year that we got. You're going to see the draft lottery machine. I'll go over that more here in a bit. But there was a lot of money poured into the draft lottery machine, into our podium, into everything that we put into this league. Trust me, what it turns out to be is about $50 going towards these improvements. It's a lot more than $50. Trust me. Me, Matthew, Michael, among others, have poured a lot of our own money into making this league what it is today. So I hope you guys appreciate it. This mic wasn't cheap, and so it's all just part of what the experience we're trying to bring you guys. So just want you guys to feel like that $100 entry fee is really getting you a big bang for your buck. It's not like we're trying to cheat you out of that money. Of course, if you guys ever have any thoughts on this, money's a big deal to a lot of people. So if you have any thoughts on changes you want to see, absolutely bring it up to the fellowship, Matthew, Mike, myself, or Nick, and we can discuss possible changes. All right, moving on. So the pools, like I said, so there's 2 pools that everyone needs to participate in, because as you can see, there's $90 on the line here. It's not just something, it'd be a waste of your time if you didn't participate in these things. So the survival pool, both of these start week 1. The survival pool is you pick a team that week that you think is going to win their game. But once you pick a team, you can't pick them for the rest of the survival pool. That you get to pick one team only one time. As long as you pick that game correctly, you move on to the next week. And it just keeps going that way until you pick one wrong. Once you pick a game incorrectly, you are eliminated from the survival pool. The last team left in the survival pool wins the pool. Simple as that. It's pretty fun. It's pretty exciting. And there's always upsets in the NFL. That's why we love it so much. So anything can happen with the survival pool, but definitely participate. It's $40. I mean, that's not chump change. Okay, and then the other pool is the pick'em pool. The pick'em pool is just each week you pick who you think will win every game. If you get that game right, that's a point. You do this for weeks 1 through 17, and the person that picks the most games right at the end of the day wins. So it's as simple as that. That's $50. It's a lot of game picks. Last year we did this. We did both of these last year. We didn't have 100% participation, which is a shame because it's money that you guys could be winning. The pick'em pool last year was a confidence pool. It was a little more complicated. You had to assign numbers to each game you think will win. But this year we're just doing a simple pick'em. You just pick who you think will win. That's it. Plain and simple. Get out there and participate. All right, league format. So this is the fantasy football league itself. This is what we all started with. This is what we're here for. So we play in a head-to-head and all-play league with standard scoring. So head-to-head, you play one team each week. If you beat them, you win. You get a win. It's that simple. And then the all-play is the top 6 teams from every week, scoring-wise. The top 6 teams with the most points each week will get a win, and the bottom 6 teams will get a loss. It's so each week you're looking at 2 possible wins. You can go 2-0, you can go 1-1, you can go 0-2. We do this in order to help eliminate the luck factor a little bit, because how many times have you gone out and you score 120 and the guy you're playing scores 130, and it's just one of those things where if you would have played literally anyone else, you would have got a win that week. This is why we do the all play, so it helps balance that out. We're trying to, again, eliminate that luck factor. It's something we're constantly striving for. Standard scoring, so no points per reception. That's something, me personally, I think we should talk about moving away from. This year we're doing standard scoring. That's what it is, but just about everyone agrees that PPR scoring creates a more consistent, less touchdown-driven league. I'm out here putting out my propaganda. Some of my league mates not agree with me, but that's just my feeling towards it, and it's something we can discuss going forward. But know that this year it is standard scoring, and that's how it's going to be. We're going to do every week. You can start up to 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, 1 flex, which can be either a running back, wide receiver, or tight end. Then you'll start a tight end, a defense, and a kicker. And then this year we're starting the keeper league format. So no one's coming into the season with keepers, but know at the draft this year, you have the opportunity to keep up to 3 players each week. Now, I'm not going to go in depth with the keeper because there's a lot to go over with the keepers. So that's something I'll go over in just a podcast dedicated solely to the keeper league coming soon. Okay, so next up we have the scoring for the league. So scoring, we're pretty standard in most aspects when it comes to scoring. Passing, you're going to get a point for every 25 pass yards, 4 points for every passing touchdown, minus 2 points for every interception thrown, and then 2 points for a successful 2-point conversion completion. Rushing, also very standard, 1 point for every 10 rush yards, 6 points for every rushing touchdown. You lose 2 points if they lose a fumble, and then 2 points for every successful 2-point conversion. It's kind of the same deal for receiving, as you can see there on the screen. I'm sorry, some of this is going to be kind of boring, but I want to make sure this is out there because it's incredibly important, like I talked about last podcast, to know your league and know its scoring very, very closely, because it really could influence how you're going to draft your team. But back to the scoring. 1 point for every 10 receiving yards, 6 points for every receiving touchdown, 2 points for every successful 2-point conversion. Very generic there. Now, something we did change this year to take note is kick return yardage. We're taking that away from defense and special teams, and we're moving that to the individual player. So you're going to get 1 point for every 25 kick return yards. You're going to get 1 point for every 20 punt return yards. And this is decimal scoring. This is all decimal scoring. So you'll get those fractional points as well. But that's going to have a big impact on players. Now, you also are going to get 6 points for every punt or kickoff return touchdown. So having those kick return players, Tyler Lockett, Tyreek Hill, Cordell Patterson, those sort of players, those guys are going to have a little bit added value in our league now because they're actually going to get credit for those kick and punt return yards as well. So definitely something to keep in mind when you're drafting. You might see someone like a Christian McCaffrey or Dalvin Cook return kicks this year too. With the keeper format plus that added value, they might have a little more value to you this year, especially since that you can potentially keep them long term than they normally would. Now, kicking, we did some slight tweaks to our kicking scoring this year. So it's pretty standard, 1 point for every extra point, minus 1 point for a missed extra point. Where we made the big changes is to the fractional piece of the scoring. So no longer if they hit a range, they get one value, and if they hit another range, they get another value. That's something we really focused in on this offseason, was the offensive players. They all had fractional scoring. There was no chunk point cutoffs. And this year we've eliminated all chunk point cutoffs again, just to add to consistency with scoring. Make it less luck driven. That guy he kicked 1 yard less of a field goal, and it's a cutoff. We're getting rid of that sort of thing. So you're going to get 3 points for every successful field goal up to 30 yards. So any field goal from 1 to 30 yards is 3 points. Then every yard after that, you're going to get an additional 0.1 point. So as a 31-yarder is worth 3.1 points, a 32-yarder is worth 3.2 points, and so on and so forth. So I think it's a good change, adds to the consistency. You know exactly what to expect when that guy kicks a field goal and makes it. And then missed field goals, so those are going to be minus 3 points for every field goal missed up to 30 yards. So you miss a 1-yarder, that's minus 3 points. If you miss a 30-yarder, it's minus 3 points. And then after that, then you're going to start to not lose as much. They're gonna go down by 0.1 point for every yard up to 59 yards. So if you miss a 31-yarder, then it's going to be minus 2.9 points. If you miss a 32-yarder, it's going to be minus 2.8 points, and so on and so forth. I think this will add, again, to the overall consistency, and I'm very excited about the change here. And then defense, special teams, pretty standard stuff. 2 points for interceptions, fumble recoveries, 2 points for block kicks, 2 points for conversion returns and safeties, 6 points for interceptions, interception, fumble, blocked field goal, blocked punt return, touchdown. So if the defense scores a touchdown, you're going to get 6 points for it. And then 1 point for a sack. Now, the other part of the defense is the scoring for rushing yards allowed, passing yards allowed, and points allowed. So every week your DST is going to start with 30 points. 10 points from 0 points allowed, 10 points from no rushing yardage allowed, 10 points for no passing yardage allowed. And then where last year we had segments of point cutoffs, this year it's simply for every point given up, your DST is going to lose 0.4 points. So every point you give up, minus 0.4 points. For every rushing yard given up, your DST is going to receive minus 0.08 points. And then for every receiving yard given up, your DST is going to lose 0.04 points. Now, we came up with these numbers that we ran them through rigorous testing. You're going to see a slight uptick in the points for defenses that are really good at negating giving up yards and giving up points, which the fellowship overall believes really shows what a good defense is. A good defense doesn't give up points, it doesn't give up yards. Touchdowns and whatnot, those are more on the fluky side. It doesn't necessarily represent a good defense, which is what we're trying to go for. We're trying to make the DST really represent a good actual NFL defense. So like the Chiefs last year, they scored pretty high in fantasy football, but if you look at their points given up, their rushing yards given up, and receiving yards given up, they were pretty much middle of the road on all of that. So it really wasn't indicative of how good of a defense they actually were. Sure, they made plays when they had to, but as far as stopping people, it really wasn't. I guess arguably they weren't as good as their numbers showed. And so then you have teams that like the Broncos, who don't give up a ton of yardage, and you really see them rewarded with this system. So definitely take a look at this because it impacts the defensive special team scoring. We took away the punt return, the kick return yardage from these DSTs, and the touchdowns given up. Sorry, I apologize. The punt return, kick return touchdowns, they don't go to the DST anymore either. So you might think that's going to decrease the points scored for DSTs, but that wasn't the case when we ran it through our testing. It really rebalanced the defense. The defense was actually scoring a little bit more points. So they're still within control, but you see a better separation of the good defenses and the bad defenses. But yeah, check that out because there's a lot going on there. Now, the playoffs. So we're all playing to make the playoffs in fantasy football. We want to win. We'll talk about what we're going to win here in a minute, but how you make the playoffs. Winners of each division will make the playoffs. So there's 4 divisions. You win your division, you're in. That simple. Now, the top team from each conference that doesn't win their division, the top team from each conference that doesn't win their division is the wild card team. All the tiebreakers that you may have had questions on so far in this podcast, all the tiebreakers are in the rule book. Get the rule book, read the rule book, and you shouldn't, between the podcast and the rule book, you really shouldn't have any questions for us in terms of how does this work or how does that work. We're giving you all the tools to be able to answer your own questions. It's not that we don't like answering your questions, but you're going to be a more powered fantasy football player if you know the answers to all the questions. And so we're giving you those tools, and that's why we're doing all this. So it's on you. All right. Excuse me. So the playoffs, back to the playoffs. The playoffs are played within their conference up to the championship game. So you stay within your conference, much like the NFL, as you go through the playoffs. The playoffs are going to start week 13, and each game, week 13 and 14, are one game. That's it. But the championship game is weeks 15 and 16. So it's a two-game Super Bowl. We find that it really allows the teams to square off and really see who the best team is. So it's more exciting that way. There's also a loser bracket and whatnot. I'm not going to go over that here in the podcast, but definitely is in the rule book. Check it out. If you have any questions, your answers are in there. All right, so what do you win? What do you win if you win the league? Well, you can win one of these babies. I know I've shown them off a few times already, but they're actually cooler than these here. But the first place was going to win the cash like we talked about earlier, a custom championship ring. Their name is going to be engraved on a placard that goes on the CFFL podium. I'm pretty excited for you guys to see the podium this year. It's just about done, but it's gone through a lot of changes this year. I think you guys will be pretty stoked to see it. Matthew's done a great job on it along with Michael. And I've really just kind of stand by and watch them do it all, but they've done a great job. And then also the ownership of the CFFL championship belt. That's new. Matthew currently has it. If you didn't go to the NFL draft, we presented it to him for winning last year's championship. But it's pretty sweet. Come see us this upcoming Thursday. And I'm sure he'll be toting that around as well. Won't you, Matthew? All right. And then new to this year. So last place. We'll have a loser playoff bracket that you don't want to be the winner of. If you do, you get to put this license plate frame right here on your car, starting at the NFL draft and going through the fantasy football season. You have to leave that on your car or there will be punishments. what those punishments are, the fellowship will decide. So that's up to you. And then at the draft, the last place team will have to wear this lovely tiara with this pink fantasy loser sash. So, yes, coming in last place, not necessarily the greatest idea. So that's just kind of our motivation to keep everyone playing fantasy football, even if they've been eliminated from the playoffs. There, and you'll see. I might talk about it here in a minute, but you'll see. Even if you don't make the playoffs this year, what we've done is really added a lot of motivation to keep playing fantasy football as the year goes on. So even if you miss the playoffs, you're going to want to keep playing. Oh, yes. The rape whistle. So Nick Seba was this past year's winner of the rape whistle. We all voted what we thought was the worst trade during the fantasy season, and that's what we'll do again this year. So the winner of the worst trade gets the rape whistle. What they must do is wear this around their neck during the draft, and if there's any trades that occur during the draft, they must announce, "I love Dick," and then the terms of the trade. So I'm sure Nick will be blowing that loud and proud here at the draft coming up, so stay tuned for that. Okay, so what's next? Next podcast I do will be about keepers. There's a lot to go over, so there'll be a lot in the Keeper podcast. League dues they're due today. Today I'm doing this podcast the 31st, so there's a couple people left. And get me your money. All right. August 3rd, which is this upcoming Thursday, is the Hall of Fame game. First taste of football that we've had since the Super Bowl. It's been a long time. So come get your football fix, and then we're also going to be doing the draft lottery. This will all be going down at Michael's house starting at 5 p.m. this upcoming Thursday. You can text him for the address, or I might post it on the Facebook Messenger. But the draft lottery is new this year. Normally, I've always had my son or my wife pick out ping pong balls from a bowl blindfolded to determine the draft order. But this year, Michael has really outdone himself and helped. And a couple of us pitched in as well, but we created a draft lottery machine, much like you would see on TV or something. It's absolutely legit. Every team is going to have a ping pong ball represented, and they're actually custom ping pong balls with your team logo and everything on them. Also very cool. And what we're gonna do is through the draft lottery, that's going to determine the order in which everyone gets to pick their draft pick. Now, this year, everyone has one ball representing themselves. That is it. Going forward, this is going to be even more important because for the teams that make the playoffs, depending on how far you go into the playoffs, you get a certain amount of balls to represent your chances of landing the first selection. There's more details in the book, the rule book, but it's going to be incredibly exciting to watch these draft lotteries unfold over the coming years, because you're going to have two different tiers of draft lottery spots, and you can have up to 5 balls going in there while someone else only has 1. So you're going to be able to trade these things. So there's going to be a lot going on with that going forward. But read about it in the rule book. It's pretty cool stuff. Let's see. So, last bit of stuff here. So the person that gets selected first to pick their spot, that person is going to have until August 4th, which is Friday, and at 5 p.m. they must select their spot. If they don't select their spot by 5 p.m., the next person can then proceed to pick their spot. But that second person will have until August 5th at 5 p.m., and the third person will have until August 6th at 5 p.m., and so on and so forth until we have our draft order set, which should be by the 14th, if not sooner. So that's really what we got going on, guys. I hope you enjoyed the podcast today. If you got any questions or comments on what you want to see in the podcast, let me know in the comments below. But until next time, guys, I'll talk to you later. See you Thursday.